2 and 1. Welcome everybody to episode 2 of the Lone Star Wiffle podcast. My name is Tim Dean, your host, and I have 3 awesome guests on with us tonight to talk a lot about wiffle ball in Texas. And who better than the 3 people that are representing their leagues? We have with us tonight, Justin Withy. Justin, is Withy the way you say your last name?
Yes, sir. Withy, that's it.
All right. Justin Withy is with the Coastal Wiffleball League. It's down in the League City area. If you don't know where that's it, that is between Houston and Galveston. So it's in the greater Houston area in the south part of that. We also have with us John Serrata. He's the president of the South Texas Wiffleball League, playing in the Corpus Christi area, more specifically Robstown. Is that correct, John?
That is correct.
All right. And lastly, but not least, the master of mustache, it's getting longer, is Will Marshall with the Texas Wiffleball League in the Frisco area that is north of Dallas. Is that correct, Will?
That's correct, Tim. Thanks for having us on.
All right, guys, I'm really excited to have you guys on with me tonight to talk about wiffle ball. The people right here in this room are directly responsible for the growth of wiffle ball in Texas. And I really want to do everything that we can to help each other out and help this grow. And I'm really excited to hear about some of these leagues going on. Will, I'm going to start off with you. You've been around longer than the other 2 in the wiffle ball scene, not as long as I have. Tell me a little bit about the Texas Wiffle Ball League, how it came about, and what's going on with you guys right now.
Yeah, so Texas Wiffleball League started with a couple young bucks, me included. Junior year of high school, I was like 16 years old, and we'd always grown up in our friends' backyards playing ball. And it was just what you did every day after school until it was pitch black and you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. And I think after enough guys started to come over to play in the backyard, we just realized, hey, we need to just form teams and play. So before you know it, we ended up with 6 or 8 teams the first year. By year 2, we had 16 teams. By year 3, we had 24 teams. And year 5 and 6, it was close to like 35 teams. So we had close to like 200 people playing. Year 5 and 6, then 7, 8, 9, where we kind of backed off a little bit. We realized it was a little bit too big for our britches, and bumped it back down to like 16 or 20 teams. And then this past year, kind of in that like 20 team range. Then obviously with COVID, kind of back down to like 6 or 8 just to keep it small. But we've done everything from playing in local parks and just set up temporary fence fields like we're doing this year to being in backyards where guys have 3 or 4 acres and putting up green monster Fenway stadiums with as cool and nostalgic wiffle ball you can get. Like it's as awesome as you can think it is. So I feel like I've had the opportunity to learn from guys like Tim Dean, Texas Tim, and Billy Owens and Brett Bevilacqua over the years. And I mean, I think more of it's just being in wiffle ball, the more you realize like it's not that big of a community, and if you want to be a part of it and make an impact, like you can. So every city can use a wiffle ball league.
Now, Will, you guys grew to the point where you actually started another division, and you had 2 divisions of play. Can you explain what you did there?
Yeah, so believe it or not, at first we went to 2 divisions. It was just more of like a fast pitch, medium pitch, but really at first it was kind of like, these are the young bucks who are super competitive, and these are the guys who just kind of want to show up and play a little more recreational. And then, believe it or not, after the first 2 years of that, we switched to having 4 divisions. So we kind of got within those 2 divisions, kind of had like a tier 1, tier 2 in each one. When we got a ton of teams, just to kind of more bracket up in like a AL Central, AL West, NL Central, NL West kind of deal. So it was a pretty cool way of doing it. But again, I think like most leagues nationally, you kind of evolve that way just because, you got guys who want to go out there and throw the ball 100 miles an hour, and other guys just want to go out there and, have a couple drinks with their buds and, hang out with their families and stuff, a little more recreational. So it all happens naturally.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I'm going to switch it over to John. John, you guys have only been playing a few weeks, actually, maybe a little over a month in your first league. You just finished up your league on Sunday, where the Whiskey Ducks actually, which is really a internet sensation sort of at this point. The Whiskey Ducks actually came out of like the 3 or the 4 seed and won your tournament. John, could you tell us a little bit about your league, how it got started, and what you guys have done this season?
Yeah, sure thing. So pretty much the way it got started is through Jason Brendon from the Whiskey Ducks. He kind of, got into it and told one of his teammates, Jason Weaver, me and Jason had played softball together. It's kind of the same guys that are playing now. We all kind of played softball, and they just kind of just bought the equipment and said, they came down one weekend and said, hey, let's just try this thing out. And it was just more like a BP session pretty much. Mm-hmm. And we said, hey, why don't we, we got about a core group of 5 guys or so. And I said, why don't we all just go and just each of us form a team, and let's start a little league here. And, let's do it with just ourselves, because we know that we're brand new. We don't really know what we're doing. That way, if and when we want to expand, we know what works and what doesn't work. We can edit some things if we need to. And so that's pretty much where we are right now with the completion of our first season. We did have some setbacks. Some people didn't like some rules, and some, wanted to change other things. It's definitely some growing pains, but for the most part, everybody just can't wait for season 2 to come around. You know what I mean? So what we did different this year, though, is we definitely changed, some of the rules. We are each and every single team is having one representative, so that way each team has a spokesperson. So that way, if you don't like something, come and tell me. We can talk about it, and we can try to, at the end of the day, we want to compete. We want to get the competitive juices flowing, but it's just something that you look forward to at the end of the week. Everybody has a stressful, work day or work week, and it's just something to kind of look forward to and just have fun with the guys. And like I said, right now, we expanded from 6 teams season 1, and we grew to 8 teams this season coming up, and we're going to start that one August 2nd. So we're pretty excited about that one.
Now, John, I'm going to make Will jealous right here, because you have something that Will covets. You have a relationship with your Little League, and you're getting to play at your Little League complex. Is that right?
That is correct. It's a huge shout out to the Robstown Little League out there, and to the president, Mario Mesa, for helping us out. That right there, me being born and raised in Robstown, baseball was it, and just playing there is just, it's just sacred. It's just sacred to people who love baseball. So going back, and obviously the field's a lot smaller than when we were younger, but it's just, going back there is just, it's just awesome. To have that relationship with them, to allow us to play out there. It's wonderful. It's great.
And that's one of the things Will struggled with, is finding the home. He's had a home for a few years, but it just hasn't been their place. It was someone else's place. And even though it's the Little League, it's a great relationship, and I think it actually will help cultivate even maybe some of the younger kids starting to play too. John, if Jason relayed to you what he experienced in our tournament, is that we had kids playing, we had women playing, and
yeah, he did.
And so it isn't just about the guys to play. So it is really cool to see the growth, and you guys probably will come around to experience some of that as well. So definitely. I'm gonna move over to Justin now, the newbie of the group. Justin, I've been watching your social media. Will's been really active over the years with his social media. It sort of died down this year. And Justin, I'm excited to see some of the stuff that you guys are putting out with the Coastal Wiffleball League. Can you tell us a little bit about how your league started and what you guys have going on right now?
So we probably started more or less because of quarantine, because of the whole COVID coronavirus. We were kind of sitting around, not really doing anything. best way to, probably 2 weeks after the state of Texas had originally shut down, I texted my friend Chris, he's the captain of Shell Shock, and I sent him a picture of one of the really, I think it was the replica of Wrigley Field over, I can't remember exactly where it is, but of Wrigley Field as a wiffle ball field. And said, what if we try to do something like this just so we can have it in the yard, just do something where we can, something where we can get the guys together and just play.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started asking around, seeing who would be interested in just, kind of throwing up money, buying some equipment. And we got probably 10 or 15 guys almost immediately just like, hey, like, let's do this. Let's play some games. And so we were like, well, what if we tried to make this a thing? So it all happened really quick. So we're starting from like April 3rd, April 4th to April 31st. We went from not planning on having any form of wiffle anything to ordering shirts, figuring out the whole YouTube thing, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and it just kind of grew quick from there. We just a lot of the guys that play in the league are guys from that either I played baseball with in high school or from some of the other high schools in the area, and some of the other guys I work with. So we were just like, man, like, this would be just fun if we could get something started. And so I ended up getting, I think, about 30 total people that were like, yeah, let's do this. And so we started from there, split everybody up into teams, and pretty much that's it. That's how we got here.
Now your path sounds a lot like Will's path into starting up his league. Almost very eerily similar, minus the COVID. But Justin, since it was such a success, have you guys talked about what you might do going forward?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're really trying to figure out right now is we want to figure out a way to expand it. Not necessarily make it more professional, but definitely more fun, add some more teams, and definitely come 2021 in the next season, growing it. So one of the things we're kind of thinking of doing is maybe putting together some, like a fall league, like a fall winter league, something like that, and then we'll be able to expand the rosters, expand the team, try to get some more feedback, because Houston's a huge area and there's not much wiffle around here. Correct. And we get guys driving, I'd probably say close to an hour and a half just to get here once a week. So, I mean, we got guys all over the city. So, and then as it's grown, we've getting more interest with whether it's just people from Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, just kind of DMing us saying, hey, like, are y'all going to do anything bigger moving forward or do anything more moving forward? And so we're planning on doing something in the fall winter time frame, and then kind of really going for it for 2021.
That sounds real exciting. And you actually have the potential for massive growth if y'all play your cards right, being in the Houston area. But I know, like Will, you have to be careful of how fast you grow without being able to handle it. I'm going to tell all you guys too, if you ever want, I have a pretty big email database, and I've created that Texas Wiffleball Facebook page a couple years ago. If you ever need me to advertise something, you just let me know and I'll send it out, because I may have somebody on my email list that lives in your area. I just did something recently, advertising for the league that's trying to start in New Braunfels, and Will knows Skylar. That is Skylar Burt lives in the New Braunfels area, and really trying to get a league going there. And I think he's got a little momentum. And so I posted something about that, and a couple of people tagged in and says, yeah, I live in San Antonio. I'd love to get on your email list. And so one of the great things about this is that in wiffle ball, you don't need 12 guys like you do in softball. You just need 2 or 3 people to start putting a team together. So it doesn't take a lot of people. And Justin, that's really exciting. One of the things that Will ran into as he grew is that when the guys that became college age and they went off to college, he started losing some of his player base because they moved away. And he didn't have those high school kids. He wasn't tied in with those high school kids like he was when he was in high school to help continue to feed that feeder system. So as we grow, we're all going to have growing points. And let me tell you a little bit about me. John and Justin, you don't know very little about me. Will knows a lot. So a couple of things. Number one, I work for the City of Cedar Park Parks and Recreation Department. So I run wiffle ball in our community as a program. So it is one of our city programs that we do, which makes it much easier. So I actually get paid to run wiffle ball in a roundabout. Now, you guys do not.
Nice.
And I get paid to do it during the day, right? So when I do, it's one of the programs that I do. I do a lot of other things, but that's just one program that we have. And we have 3. Justin's going to be here this weekend. We have 3 permanent wiffle ball fields that were built probably about 17 years ago. And we also are this weekend setting up 3 more fields for our tournament. But I have been doing wiffle ball here in Cedar Park for about 20 years. And we started off just doing tournaments. We've had lots and lots of tournaments. We've had a couple of different leagues. And predominantly we did fast pitch up until about 3 years ago. And we started doing some medium pitch tournaments, and holy cow, the numbers started to grow like crazy doing medium pitch. And it opened our eyes. We were having twice as many teams playing in a medium pitch tournament as we were having a fast pitch tournament. And the reason being is not everybody can play fast pitch. It's stressful on your arm. It is harder to hit. And so a lot of people weren't entering in fast pitch just because they just didn't have the tools or the pieces on their team to really compete in a fast pitch tournament. When we did medium pitch, that's where we started getting the kids, the younger people playing, all kinds of people playing. And they viewed it a lot like, I think, like a lot of people view softball. Anybody can do it. Not everybody can play adult baseball, but everybody pretty much can play adult slow pitch softball. And the medium pitch really opened our eyes on growth. And we started doing at first half and half for the season, half medium pitch, half fast pitch. And then we've started to lean towards medium pitch and sprinkling in a couple of fast pitch tournaments in our programming. This past fall, we actually started a medium pitch Wednesday night league under the lights. And so we have 2 softball fields, and on Wednesday night, one of them, we set up the wiffle ball fields in the outfield, and we set up 3 of them, and we had 10 teams playing in our Wednesday night league, and they would play 2 games a night, 2 5-inning games a night, and it was fantastic. People came out and in the family pods, and they brought their family, and they hung out at the park. The guys drank beer. They turned they were out there when the lights turned off. I was already gone. They're still out there socializing and having a really good time. And it was a huge success. Now, COVID did in our spring league that we had scheduled, and everybody lost stuff in that. And so that was real successful. And we plan on doing a fall league again this year if we're able to. So I've been doing this a long time. I'm also tied into wiffle ball on the national scene. For several years, I have held or hosted the national championship tournament here in Cedar Park that was governed by Fast Plastic. And Will is has been a representative of Fast Plastic as well. But this year they're not having a tournament, and I'm involved in another group that is going to have national championship tournament in October in York, Pennsylvania, where the Whiskey Ducks are going to go. And I will be tournament director there as well. They already have 21 teams signed up for that one. And they expect it to be over 30 teams will sign up for that tournament. So I'm involved a lot nationally in the game of wiffle ball, and also was a nominee on the 50th anniversary of wiffle to be in the Wiffle Ball Hall of Fame. So I'm pretty tied in and pretty proud of what I've done as a contributor to the sport. I can't play anymore. I've got a couple of shot shoulders, but I love the game, and it's a lot of fun. So that's about what I've done. I do want to point out about how COVID canceled us in the spring, but what wiffle ball is able to do, we're able to pull it off with a lot of distancing. If you don't, if you don't run the bases, there's actually no tagging, no touching one whatsoever, and you can socially distance quite a bit. We were actually very successful in our first tournament to have people spread out all over the park over the size of about 2 soccer fields, spread out all over the place, and that's what we'll have this weekend. So we will have hand sanitizer at every field, encouraging social distancing. It's just going to be a lot of fun. And guys, I just want to let you know that's sort of what I've done. And what I'll do now is ask a little bit about y'all's format. Wiffle ball, there is no right or wrong way to play wiffle ball. I just want to say that right now. Wiffle ball comes in all shapes, sizes, and formats. None of them are wrong. There is no national governing body of wiffle ball that organizes and makes rules. There are dozens and dozens of leagues across this country, more than any of us realize. I see some pop up on social media and I go, what? But they're really literally all over the country. And everybody plays a bit differently. If you've done your research, there are people that run the bases. There are people that where they throw the ball at you to get you out. I mean, there's all kinds of rules, all over the country. And some of them are quite crazy. I actually was looking at a set of rules where one of the rules said, if a batted ball, this is no lie, buried deep in their rules says, if a batted ball hits an airplane in flight, it is a foul ball or something. And I swear that rule really exists in someone's rule. And I looked at my athletic coordinator going, what happened for them to put this rule in their rule book? That is just awesome. Is there a field next to a little one of those rural airstrips or something? Or did it hit a drone? I don't know, but it's funny. So the way we play, I'll kick it off. The way we play at our place, when I first started, I started doing research of wiffle ball, and I found a guy named, and Will would recognize this name. I don't think he's ever met him, Mike Palanzar. And Mike Palanzar ran in Trenton, New Jersey. He ran this massive tournament in Trenton, New Jersey for years and years and years. And it was called the New Jersey Wiffle Ball Association. And when you Googled it, or not back then, they didn't have Google, but when you searched it, that's wiffle ball, that popped up. And I spoke to him several times, and I actually sort of modeled my rule book after his. And one of the unique, we don't run bases, but one of the unique things about our style rules that we play here in Cedar Park, Will doesn't necessarily care for it a whole lot in fast pitch, but it's called the caught looking rule. And it's where if a pitcher throws a ball and the batter doesn't swing and it hits the strike zone, they're automatically out caught looking. Now, the con of it is that a pitcher like Will, who has pretty good accuracy, that can throw a fast pitch ball and hit that zone on a fairly regular basis, he's not going to walk a ton of people because he's pretty good at throwing the ball. But not very many people can throw like Will can. And so what ends up happening in our game, we see a lot of walks. Justin, I'm going to pick out I'm going to pick on you guys for a moment. I watched the video, Justin, of y'all's game where y'all were counting the walks in the first inning of one of y'all's games. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah, and so what was happening is the pitcher couldn't throw a lot of strikes, and therefore the batters are sitting there. Number one, they're getting frustrated. Number two, maybe they're waiting on balls to get on base. But it is frustrating both for the batter and the pitcher. What I think the caught looking rule does is, number one, it gets the bat off the batter's shoulder. It makes them prep on the very first pitch and get ready. That way, if a ball's close, they better swing at it or they're going to be out. Therefore, there's more swinging, creating more offense of the game. The other thing it's doing, it's helping the pitcher throw less pitches, because now the batter is more likely to swing at one of the first few pitches than wait till he gets 2 strikes on him, which may be 6 pitches deep. And it really, the people that routinely play here love the caught looking rule. Will started the caught looking rule in his medium pitch league, but not in his fast pitch. So we love it, and it really speeds the game up. It makes it move very fast. And if you're throwing, the other thing too is that a pitcher can be down 3 balls and no strikes, and he can go, you know what? I can throw one good pitch and get out of this. One good pitch. And so you're not defeated on a 3-0. You're going, you know what? I can do this. I'm going to throw this nasty slider or this nasty rise ball or a nasty drop and catch them looking, because they're sitting there now waiting for a walk. And we love it. And Justin, you're coming up and playing this weekend. I'll be curious at the end of the tournament to find out how you like that, and if it might be something that y'all might think about incorporating, which will cut down on those walks and make it to where there is a lot more balls hit. And the other thing that we do in our tournaments and our leagues is that we cap the number of runs scored per inning at 5. So if a team can't throw strikes, if a team is struggling pitching or in the field, that the most that they can give up in an inning is 5, regardless of whether it's a home run or not. But what we do is in the last inning, they can score 10. So if we play in a 5-inning game, you can score 10 in the 5th, or in a 3-inning game, you can score 10 in the 3rd, just so we can get the misery out of the way if someone's getting crushed. And so a lot of this stuff that I've learned over the years and implemented. So every rule that we have, there's a reason for it, like the airplane. And so we do have a reason for it. So that's a couple of the uniquenesses of our league. And so Will, I'm going to talk about you. We'll go to you first. Tell me a little bit about some of the rules and how you guys play.
Yeah, so the cool part is, Tim, like you're talking about, there's no right or wrong rules. Like, we've tried literally everything from base running to yellow bats to bam bats to no tape bats to, everything you can do, scuff balls, clean balls, whole 9 yards, and they're all good. It really just depends on who are the people that are playing, right? And you've gotten a good environment now, Tim, where most of the guys in there are looking for the same thing, the same product, right? And the reason we ended up with 4 divisions back in the day when we were really going hot is that we had, young kids that wanted to throw the ball 100 miles an hour. Then you had, younger kids who wanted to throw 100 miles an hour but were throwing like 80 miles an hour. And then, adults that wanted to be competitive but couldn't throw even 80, and then adults who wanted to just play recreational, right? So you kind of have to cater to the people you have that want to play.
Yeah.
So we always based our rules based on that. It's like, Tim, my favorite way to play fast pitch is take strike looking.
Oh.
I think it prepares the batter the best out of any of the versions.
Yeah.
But most people don't like that.
No.
And like you're saying, when you're playing really, really, really competitive fast pitch, if the pitchers are good, it's just not even fair. Like you want the pitchers to have to throw 3 strikes.
Yeah.
In most of those really competitive scenes. But yeah, I mean, currently in the division, the way we're running it this year, again, we've changed formats, we've changed divisions of the league almost every single year based on who the players are in the league. But this year it's just back to one division. We have, half the teams are really like medium pitch teams, and half of them are fast pitch teams, but they all end up playing against each other. So the way we really do it right now, Tim, as crazy as it is, this is the first year we've played all the rules. So literally the teams decide when the game starts, hey, how you guys feeling today? Is your arm good or are you toast? No, I'm toast. All right, cool. Let's play medium pitch. Okay, you guys want to play take strike looking? Okay, cool. Let's take strike looking. Okay, you guys want to play 4-0 lob balls? Okay, let's do it. If you go down 3-0 or 4-0, then your other teammate can come out and throw you a lob ball. We're kind of just letting guys pick what they want to play right now, because at the end of the day, it's about whether or not the guys want to play.
And you know what, Will? You're seeing them have a blast, aren't you?
Yeah. It's the best.
Yeah.
So, and then when the guys who, if a couple fast pitch arms show up and they want to play fast pitch, then they play fast pitch.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let me move over to John. John, tell us a little bit about how you play, because actually I don't know very much. I've not seen any video of South Texas, so I don't even know what your rules are. Do y'all base run? Are you throw fast? Anything? So I'm actually curious of how you guys do it.
So when it was first brought up to us, they pretty much copied what you wanted, the way you run your league. That's what Jason had kind of brought to us, and we modified it a little bit again to the, let's just try to not be so technical. Let's try to simplify the rules a little bit. So in the beginning, what we did is we had any ground ball that was fielded cleanly, you had to make a throw to home plate, kind of like the way you do your double plays.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so the way that's what we did. Any ground ball that was fielded cleanly, you're able to do that. A double, you had to hit it past a certain mark on the field. A triple was hitting the wall on in the air, and of course a home run is a home run. No base running or anything like that. But we are going to be changing some of the rules, actually more towards the way that you ran your most recent tournament. Where you have your infield single, your single. Now your double is anything hit on the ground that reaches the wall. Triple obviously stays the same on the air, and then home run is obviously a home run. We are going to incorporate. We did not have a double play rule this last season. We're going to incorporate that this season. I think we're still kind of in the air about with the 2 outs and with 2 outs and a base hit, and I guess your runners are able to advance 2 bases, because like in real baseball, they're running on contact.
Yep.
So that's still in the air. That's still something that we still have to bring up. But for the most part, I think we're doing pretty much what y'all are doing there at Cedar Park. And as far as for pitching styles, we don't have we have some guys that can throw pretty hard. There's not a cap as far as how hard you can throw. So I guess you can say it would be considered fast pitch because we do allow it. Mm-hmm. But then there's some teams that they would be medium pitch teams, but they're still competitive. As far as let's see. The only thing that we do have, I know for our rosters, we set them at 5. No more than 5 people on a roster. And then if you want to bat all 5, you can bat all 5. And obviously, your max on the field is 3. But I do have a question though, and it was brought up. It was brought up to me by a couple of the representatives. So they were saying you have your roster of 5, and let's say only 2 players show up. Because of the max that you can play on the field is 3, is that third batter considered an out? Or do you guys just play with 2 and you can just keep on with that rotation as long as you want without that third batter being an out?
So that's a good question. Our rules state that you can start with 2 with no penalty in your batting order. And I will tell you that we did have a 2-man team. TC35 won our last tournament, and they will be 2-man this Saturday. I didn't think that they're good players, but I told them early in the day, a two-man team will not win this tournament. They proved me wrong. And in fast pitch, it's much easier to do because there's not as many balls put in play. But in medium pitch, they're short a fielder that actually hurts them in the field because there's more balls being put into play. So our rules state that you can play with two, but if you start your batting order with 3 or 4 or 5 and someone leaves, our rules do dictate that that position will be an out when they come up to the plate.
Right.
And the only time I've said, no, we're not going to do that is if the two teams agree, dude, I don't want you to take an out, just because he's got to go home. He's got to take his kids home. We're going to drop a player in the batting order if y'all are okay. But your rules do need to cover it because it is competitive. Right. So you can either say it's an out, or you can say it's an out unless both teams agree for it not to be an out because they're not trying to be a jackass about it.
Right.
And because most of the time they probably won't care. But if it's clear that the game will be an out if they leave, then that guy just needs to know maybe it's best I don't start this game because I don't want this to hurt you guys in this. So
for sure,
it just needs to be on the wording on how y'all set that up. I don't think it should be held against anybody to have a two-man team because maybe they just don't have the guys that night, right? But you don't want to forfeit either.
Right.
And you want it to be fair and square. And they're already at a disadvantage by not having that fielder. And it is
right.
In medium pitch, it's a huge disadvantage. So does that answer your question?
Oh, for sure. Definitely. I guess one other thing too that we had is, so this season we ran with umpires. So we had one person calling balls and strikes, another one that was in the actual outfield area because we had marks on the field to see, just to make sure it was honest, if where the ball landed first, if it were a single or double. Do you guys run with umpires that way? Do you guys run with no umpires? Is it just an honor system?
So we've never had umpires, and Will tell you that no tournament that he's ever been to use umpires. It actually is there. I have seen it on social media in a couple of places only, but it is almost no one does anything like that. And what makes this game really awesome, if you have a strike zone, like the ones that we have, then the strike zone is the umpire. If it's a ball, it's a ball if it doesn't hit it. It's a strike if it hits it. There is no questioning whatsoever. That is it. And,
right.
And as many years as I've been doing this, that has never been a problem. The only issue that some strike zones, and it's not a design flaw, it's just, it is. Their legs will extend straight down from the strike zone, okay? There's nothing wrong with it, but when it hits a leg, it's hard to tell whether it was the zone or the leg.
Right.
So I designed mine to where my legs are set back about 6 inches behind the zone, and it doesn't have feet. I get 6-inch rebar. Okay, they come in 6 inches, and I'll tap the rebar into the ground and slide my zone over the rebar where it just sits there. And without the feet, and the zone itself is out in front of the legs, and so when it doesn't hit the zone, if it hits a leg, because it's already past the zone when it does it.
Right.
And so I don't think you need an umpire. I actually think it's probably making it more cumbersome because most of the guys would rather not umpire and sit over there and drink beer and make fun of John Serrato when he's on the field.
For sure.
And in the field, now that you're setting it up the way you do, it's cut and dry, and it is a gentleman's game. Jason told me, he said, Tim, the thing that surprised me the most about your tournament is how friendly everybody was and how nice everybody was and how helpful everybody was. That we didn't know the rules very well, and the other team goes, hey, you got to run. You threw a pass ball. He goes, what? He goes, yeah. Guy threw a wild pitch and the runner from third scores. He goes, oh, okay, get a run. And so that is how almost all of them are. They're not that way at the national level, the top level. They're playing for money, John. Don't ever put money as a prize for your league, ever.
Biggest mistake you'll make. Biggest mistake you'll make.
Yeah, because then it starts being about the money, and people do dumb things for money.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So make it always about fun, and you won't have a problem. And I actually think that you could go away from the umpire stuff. And Will's never used them. Justin's not using them. Other leagues are not doing them. And I actually think if you go away from it, my rules, if you look at it closer, dictates who makes the call for all of it. Who makes the call for a foul ball? Who makes the call for a strike? So the argument's out of the way. The rules state that the batter makes the call on a foul ball, and that's, if it's close, that's the guy that makes the call. Yeah, he may say it's fair, but by rule, that's the guy that makes the call. And we've hardly ever had any arguments in the 20 years we've been doing it. And so, Will, do you have anything else you want to add to that, since we've been discussing that, before I get to Justin?
Yeah, and the cool part about I think really it was you and Billy back in the day when Fast Plastic was around. You guys came up with those kind of rule systems where it's a checks and balances, right? So the batter might have fair foul call, but the pitcher is going to have, did he actually go around or not? Did he swing or did he not? Right? So it's kind of like every rule is back and forth. So if anyone were to really really botch a rule and or a call, right, on purpose, the other team's going to get the next one.
Yeah.
So it's just really a gentleman's thing. So it's the justice system really keeps everyone intact. And seriously, like, you just don't have any problems with, and if someone makes a bad call, guess what? Everyone just talks it out, and then it gets worked out, right? Because everyone's kind of rational about it. But yeah, money will make people do crazy things. Yeah. It's not worth it.
It does. Let's move over to Justin in the Coastal Wiffleball League. Justin, tell us about your rules and what you guys have been discussing about maybe some rule changes in the future.
Yeah, so as far as future rules, we haven't gotten too far in depth into that, just because we just for the most part we just haven't had much time to discuss it. But we do first and second, so we play three inning games like how most people do. But with first and second inning, six run limits, and then we actually don't have a run limit in the third inning, but we do have a 12 run after 2 run rule. That's it, game over. So if a team just goes run rules both, then that's going to be it for that game. We do run the bases. It was kind of a general consensus as soon as we started talking to just everybody who's going to be captains of the league. Just about everybody is just pretty much all the captains, if not all of them, are within 2 or 3 years of graduating high school, playing on a varsity team, or playing at some D2, D3 school somewhere. So it was kind of everybody wanted to go more along the baseball side of it rather than pretty much everybody wanted to run the bases. And we didn't even know anything about a called strike rule, caught looking rule. As just kind of we really go as we started the league, we never really had a set plan on rules. We didn't have too much to go off of as far as different leagues. We had no idea that there was this much wiffle in Texas at all. So it's more or less a shock to us when we saw you guys and started seeing all the other leagues in Dallas, and then all the Cedar Park stuff as well. So we were really caught us off guard, and we were like, man, there's a lot of different ways we could play that we just hadn't even thought of. So it's definitely going into the next year, we're going to take a look at it, but we're going to go ahead and stick with what we got for this season. Yeah. And then go from there. The one thing that we have as far as, your kind of checks and balances is, for the most part, we only play Sunday afternoons. That's the only time we're able to get every single team together. So pretty much we'll always have a group of guys either watching or parents watching or friends or whatever. So we'll have, the way it works, the shade of the field, because it's hot down here. So the shade of the field is all down the right field line, and most of the batters are right-handed. So we're able to keep track of, as far as check swings, we only have 10 or 15 people all kind of watching it down the line, as well as we have a bow net that sits right behind home plate, right behind the strike zone. And there's actually a little spot for a couple of chairs, and usually there's a couple of guys sitting back there, so it's easier to check fair, foul, fair and foul calls, and just things of that nature, as well as plays in the field as far as outs, turning double plays. Did he get him? Did he not? Was he safe? Was he out? Because we have with the running the bases rule, we put a circle around the pitcher's mound. So that actually gets the lead force out runner in that situation.
You're playing the pitcher like the first baseman, right? If I saw that on video, you field it and you got to throw it to the pitcher in the circle.
Yeah, well, yeah, you wouldn't have to necessarily, but that's an option. So what that does is get the lead force out.
Okay.
So you got bases loaded, ground ball right back up to the pitcher. He can field it, and that runner on third's out. Now he can't get two runners out on that same play. So, and if he were to try to get that runner from second going to third out, he's got to go make the play, come out of the circle. And it also kind of works as well as like a dead ball rule, whereas once the ball is in the circle, we have halfway lines. So if you're not halfway and the pitcher's in the circle, that's it. You got to go back. Or if you're past that halfway line, you get the next base. Trying to think of some of the other things that we do. For the only other thing that's definitely different from you guys is, and I don't know if you've seen the video, we have a tree in our left center field that actually overhangs the field. Mm-hmm. And so in the very first series that we had a fly ball that was not going to be a home run, and it nicked a limb or a leaf on the tree, and it should not have been a home run. And so that was the only rule that we really had to go back and double check and be like, okay, so we can't just say if it hits the tree, it's a home run, because that ball is 15 feet and coming backwards because the way the wind blows down here. So, but no, it's a lot of fun. For the most part, everybody in the league is very, very competitive. So we don't have a pitch speed limit or cap on it. So we found that the guys who were pitchers as well, the guys who were pitchers in high school and in college, cannot throw wiffle balls. It's very, very interesting. Some of the best pitchers are the guys who never took the mound in high school. So for example, Chris from Shell Shock and then Colin from God Squad, they're pretty much our top two pitchers. One of them, Colin was a catcher and Chris played shortstop, and Colin pitched a little bit. Chris never touched the pitcher's mound from last time he was on the pitcher's mound in a baseball game he was probably a 10. And so that was, you're talking 12, 13 years ago. So whereas some of the guys who were pitchers, throwing 92, 93 in high school, they get up try to throw a wiffle ball, and either it sticks in their fingers and they just go straight to the ground, or they airmail it. They can't hit the strike zone at all. So it's very interesting to see. But
Justin, are y'all playing clean ball, or are you able to scuff it?
Well, so we only have probably 30 or 40 balls, but for the most part, they're all scuffed. We don't have a set rule on that. Nobody's really particular about it. We're all just kind of trying to have fun with it.
Yeah.
So
wait till they start watching some videos on how to cut it, and you may see some people show up with a cut ball. I'm not a fan, and I don't allow the cut ball. Will likes the cut ball. Most of the pitchers that are the best in the country like cutting the ball. Mm-hmm. But Justin, what they're doing, if you've never seen it, they're actually taking a knife and cutting grooves into the ball. Will, is that correct? Is how they do it?
Yeah, and everyone's a little bit different. Like I sometimes cut them. Sometimes I just find some sandpaper. I find, some concrete outside and just kind of rub it on and scuff it up a little bit too. So everyone's got their own way of doing it. But there's people use cheese graters, steak knives, pocket knives. I mean, everything you can imagine.
Yeah, we've seen some of that.
Yeah, it's awesome. Crazy. Justin, I really like what you guys are doing with your social media. And I know Will would be, if he's seen any of it, he'd be a fan of it too. And I really am glad what you're doing, because it does help create a lot of content. If you want any ideas, if you haven't seen it, type in MLW Wiffle ball, and these are guys in Michigan, I think, right, Will? The MLW guys?
Yes, sir.
They're in Michigan.
Met them a couple times. They're cool guys.
Yeah, they're in Michigan, and they are an internet sensation. They have thousands. What's that?
We've seen those guys. That was more or less the only league we had actually ever seen. Yeah. But
their field looks like crap. But it does. But they do great job with social media. Justin, where are you guys playing?
It's actually my grandmother's backyard. So we had enough space. We had enough space in the backyard, and I don't know if you can see it, but like if you were watching any of the videos, you look to the right, and the right center field, you'll be able to see the house. So we're actually in the backyard in the corner, and it's just kind of it was a big enough area where we had enough space, and then it just kind of ended up working out perfect for it.
Yeah, but you got to be careful. Grandma may kick y'all out one day, because that's what happened to Will. They were playing in a friend's backyard. Is that right, Will? And y'all were there for years.
Yeah. Next thing you know, there's 200 people, a night coming through, driving cars to the neighborhood, and HOA starts asking what the heck's going on. And, yeah. So we had a little bit too much traffic coming through there.
Yeah, we don't have any lights yet, so we're not playing at night yet. So yeah, we'll see how everything moves forward. But no, we definitely want to move to a permanent location at some point.
Yeah. Well,
that's awesome.
You said you're in League City, right?
Yes.
Will, we can't hear you.
So believe it or not, I'm gonna have to go back and go. Can you hear me? How about now?
All right, we got you now. Go ahead and repeat what you said, Will.
Okay. I was going to say, a couple of years ago, I got an email, and I ended up talking to him on the phone, but I think it was either the Parks and Rec guy in League City, or it was just a guy who runs Little League stuff in League City. And he was talking about how he saw what we were doing up in Dallas and wanted to do a big Wiffleball League or association down there in League City, Texas. So I gave him a bunch of information on it. And then, basically said, I'd love to come down and follow up and help you guys set anything up I can, let me know if you have any questions. And I never heard from him again.
So Justin, I actually know the person you would need to talk to in League City if you ever get to that point. He's a good friend of mine. And so if you ever get to the point where you want to try to do something in a city park, let me know. I can get you guys in touch with them. Now, the problem that you're going to run into when you try to expand, and maybe it won't be in the next couple of years, but the problem you'll run into is what Will runs into, is that, number one, availability. Number two, you're going to have to then form your organization. You're going to have insurance to play on city property. And so there's going to be certain requirements, not to mean that you can't get it, but then you're going to have to start charging fees and be accountable and get insurance. So continue as long as you can and take care of grandma, because, they're letting you play there and it's great. And so as long as you can and be good guests, constantly be good guests to them. Treat, they're your grandparents. But you need to tell the guys certain behavior things that they have to do, that pick up after themselves. We can't leave this, and you're already doing that, I know. But once you try to expand, you're going to run into things like that. And I know the guy, Patrick, with the City of League City very, very well. And if you ever get to that point, let me know. And, so I'd be more than happy to get you in contact with him. When you get to that
definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, so it's really cool. Guys, thank you so much for telling about your leagues. One of the things I'm going to tell you about what we're planning on doing in the future. Next year, in addition to our medium pitch state tournament, we will be having a fast pitch state tournament. And so we will have both of them next year on different weekends of the summer. but we will be doing that. We don't want to forget fast pitch. I may not have 20 teams. I'm not going to have 20 teams in a fast pitch state tournament, but we're going to have probably 10 or 12, and so I do want to do that and put that in our repertoire of what we do statewide. And what I'd like for you guys to do is continuing to grow your sport, but also let them know about what other opportunities there are for them to play other places. And not everybody travels well. Will tell you there isn't anybody in his league other than Will and his brother and maybe one or two other people that have ever traveled to a tournament. And I don't know why. The guys that play here in Austin, none of them, zero, I don't believe have ever traveled to play in a tournament. And maybe it's because I have stuff here and there really hasn't been tournaments other places. Will has a league and not tournaments, but they just don't travel well for some reason. And John, you guys had 2 teams come up. My first tournament, you got 2 more coming up on Saturday. And maybe next year we can get some more teams coming up, because I do believe Jason told you it was a really great learning experience.
Oh, yes.
Other people and seeing other people. Justin's going to meet so many new people this weekend and establish some relationships and learn a lot of different things, and that he can go back and tell everybody this was awesome and can't wait to do this again sometime. And that's what we want. And it's tough right now because of COVID. You're not able to come up and stay a couple of days and hang out in Austin and chill out and stuff and do fun things, but that time will come back. But we all need to help each other out. And all of us, you have everybody's email now. And if you ever have questions, shoot it off to that group email. Hey, I have some questions about this, and let me help advertise anything I can for you. Pictures and video, I'll post them on our Facebook page, and keep sharing it. You guys do the same thing about sharing posts and stuff, and help keep spreading the word. My goal is to continue to do this Lone Star Wiffle podcast that I did on a whim. And next week, I'm going to try to get on the winners of our tournament this coming weekend. I want to get back on the air. I'll bring in the winning team. Don't know who that's going to be, but I'll have them on next week to talk a little bit about their experience in the state championship. Before I let you guys go, give you a chance to ask any questions of anybody in the group, of rule questions or how you do this and how you do that. So if anybody has anything, let's share it.
I don't know if I have a question to start off, but I would just say, one of the most impactful thing we did from day one, like you had talked about, Justin, was getting shirts. And every year I order anywhere from 50 to 100 extra shirts. We probably spend close to $3 or $4 grand a year on shirts.
Wow.
That's crazy.
But the reason being is it's a walking billboard. And there's nothing better than someone walking up and going like, hey, what is that? That looks cool. And like, oh yeah, it's wiffle ball. Like, what do you mean wiffle ball league? Like, yeah, we play wiffle ball in a league. It's here in Frisco. And the next thing you know, they will show up the next week. They want to play, let them join. And that's literally how it grows. So as much as it might cost you a little bit of extra money, like it's going to be worth it. You hand out free shirts whenever you can. And like people wear them as long as you come with a cool design. Like it's the most worthwhile investment you can make. Not everyone's on that opinion. Some guys like making their own team uniforms, which is cool. But if you make a cool enough shirt and put maybe the team logos on the back or your sponsor logos on the back or something, everyone will wear the shirts if they get like different colors for each team or something. But that's probably my biggest piece of advice that I've learned just over the years, as far as like just to market it. Easiest way to do it. Like social media is cool, but new people are not finding wiffle ball as easily on social media as much as like the email list or the YouTube, maybe a little bit, but like, again, you didn't know that any of us existed, and I had over 200 people in a league.
Yeah.
Tim's had a league for 20 years, and couldn't find him. So you're gonna find it more from the people that are really close to you. So the more you can spread it in the city, the easier it's gonna be to grow it.
I'd probably definitely agree with that.
That is really true. Jason for the Whiskey Ducks lives in Round Rock. He didn't know that we played wiffle ball, and I'm right next door. I'm literally just a couple of miles from where he lives, and he didn't know that there was a league right next to his house. And it's really hard to market this sport to the people that you know would be interested. And I've tried all kinds of things, tons of different things. What I have found, one of the best things is just word of mouth. Is if you challenge everybody in your league to go tell one friend about it, just one, and say, hey, I want everybody to go tell a friend that's not in our league and that they think that might want to play, just go tell them, ask them, if they'd like to put their email on an email list, or if they're interested, if they might be interested in playing. And maybe you get only 20% of those actually want to play, but then you're starting a little bit of growth, and maybe we can share ideas and come together and do a Zoom conference call once a quarter or something, just to chit chat and talk about wiffle ball, what's going on, and bounce ideas off each other. But that, marketing is I have found for this has been the hardest thing. One of the things I did do this year is if on Facebook you can boost post, and I boosted an advertisement for our state tournament, and I did $200 worth, and it reached about 20,000 different people. And you try to put what your target is, and I targeted people within Texas that like softball, because wiffle ball wasn't a choice. And so that means these guys are probably playing softball. I had tons of responses and talked about it, but out of that, 0 people signed up for this state tournament off of that ad. Now, I got some new emails, on the list, and I got some new likes on the Facebook page, but I didn't get any new teams that weren't playing in a league that's playing in this tournament. And so, but it did stir up some interest. It did. People were tagging their friends, let's do this, let's go do this and win and whatever, but nothing. So,
and I would say, Tim, that's mostly just, I think, with all the worldly circumstances going on right now. Because I would attest, I've been doing Facebook ads this is the first year in probably 5 years that I haven't done Facebook ads. And I usually get anywhere from 2 to 8 teams just from Facebook ads.
Wow.
So I've had really good success with them. I think it's just this year with everything going on, like, again, I intentionally knocked all the teams down because I just didn't want to have to deal with all that. But so I think in the future years, when you guys are doing some ads, I think there will be a ton of traction with it. I do a lot of advertising, just as part of my job for work, but Facebook ads might be changing the way they do things too. So we'll see if in the upcoming year if things are still good. So I'll keep you guys updated on that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And John, y'all been advertising almost all through word of mouth, right?
For the most part, yeah. We've, like I said, the good thing about Robstown is it's a very, very small community, very, very small town. So when we're out there, we get people that actually just kind of stop off the side of the road and just kind of look, and they're like, hey, I mean, they're not little kids that are out there and playing, and we've had people that have, that may know somebody that's playing, and they message me, say, hey, how can I get on? I've had, I think from this season, like I said, we didn't want to grow too fast. We didn't want to get too big too fast to where we couldn't just handle anything anymore. So I said, let's add 2 more teams. Like I said, we went from 6 to 8, and I actually had about at least 6 to maybe 7 more possible teams that wanted to get in. And I said, look, at this point, we're filling 2 teams. The first 2 that are saying that, hey, I'm in, I'm 100% in. Let's do it. And so, I mean, I got that within the first 2-3 hours when I put it out there.
Wow. Great.
So, like I said, I had to turn everybody else down, but not because really that I wanted to. I just didn't. Again, we don't want to bite off more than we can chew. with still being so young and into the sport, and there's obviously a lot of learning still that we all have to do in our end. But, I've had a person tell me they had they had a team of just 13-year-olds that wanted to play. And if we had, teen leagues and stuff, I said, I'd love to get to that point. I told them I'd love to get to that point. We just don't have, I don't want to, again, grow too fast. I want to make sure that we're running smoothly with what we have. And when we expand, then we can do it. And we do it the right way. And so that way we don't discourage people from coming back. I mean, because I've been part of leagues where, we go and you join and they want to grow so fast, and there's just, too many steps back and not many steps forward. And, are you going to come back next season? Probably not. So again, we want to make it to where it's fun, where it's competitive. And at the end of the day, we want people to come back. So like I said, I'm proud to say that all our teams came back from this last season.
Good.
We added more, and hopefully at the end of this season, we can continue to grow.
Well, I want to tell you, when you get to the point about that 13-year-old team, let them in. And I'll tell you why. My son was 10 years old 10 and 11 years old when he first put his own team together of two of his teammates on his baseball team to play in our tournaments. And they started off playing together against the adults. They took it on the chin on some games, but they had a blast. They were driven. And as they got older, they started getting really good. And it got to the point where those boys, when we qualified for the national tournament here in Cedar Park, when Fast Plastic did one of their tournaments here, my son was about 16 years old, and they qualified because there's some 16-year-old ball players, I'll tell you, and they did really good. So don't discourage them, just but I tell you, you don't even have to have a kids division. You can incorporate them into your own and let them grow themselves, because they don't want you on their team. If you're their dad, they don't want you. They want to be with their friends, and they want their own team, and let them grow on their own. And they'll learn, just like you guys are learning, they'll learn what works, what doesn't work. The only caution, and we'll pipe in here, the only caution I'll tell you is that these young kids are developing their arms. Mm-hmm. If they're baseball players, I don't know what Will's fixing to say about it, but because Will is actually a professional baseball coach. So what I will tell you is that you need to caution on the three kids that my son put together. None of them were pitchers. So it was, they weren't hurting their arm, throwing and jeopardizing their pitching career. But Will, what do you have to say about developing young kids playing wiffle ball?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with them pitching, even if they are pitchers. The problem is how often they're doing it. And so a lot of them, if they just played in the tournament this weekend and your league night's on Monday, they'll come out there and they won't say anything, and they'll go throw 5 or 6 innings and throw 100 pitches in wiffle ball after they just threw 100 pitches this weekend.
Right.
Because they want to win. They want to win. They don't want to back down against competition. So the only thing you got to be weary of is just making sure you're managing that and say, hey, if you know those guys pitch this weekend, or just talk about what's going on in baseball. And if you start finding out that they are playing the past weekend or the upcoming day or something, just encourage them, dude, just play medium pitch, or dude, just don't pitch this game. It's okay. It's just a football game. And
you may need to get their parents to sign off on whether they can throw if they are on a select team. Maybe you have a checklist of yes or no, or no more than a couple of innings or something. Hey, Justin, do you guys have high school baseball players or college baseball players playing in your league?
Yeah, we got a couple of them. We got a couple of high school kids, and then as well as a couple D2 players, as well as an incoming freshman who's going to Rice. So for the most part, they aren't pitchers. So they don't really have to worry about their arms, although it's kind of funny. They can't throw wiffle balls nearly as well as the other guys. So that we don't have to worry too much about their arms necessarily.
Now, Justin, you had a home. You were in the finals of the home run contest, were you not?
Semifinals. I shouldn't have been there.
Oh,
We had a couple guys out of town. I shouldn't even have been in the top 8. I just happened to be there, and I got a text from one of the guys saying, "Hey, we're not going to make it." And I was like, "Well, I got to throw somebody in there." And since I was here, so ended up doing all right, having a okay showing. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
did the guy that's going to Rice win it?
No,
Oh.
that's one of the D2. That's one of the D2 players, Caden Beatty. He's actually going to be there this weekend.
Yeah, I saw that. So that's pretty cool. I look forward to for meeting him. Guys, I don't want to take up any more of your time. Again, I thank you guys for coming on tonight. I'm going to have this podcast up on and send it out here hopefully this evening. I'm also going to have this up on put it up on YouTube as well. And please share it with your team. John, anything that goes out, please share it with people that are on your email list in your league so we can continue to keep spreading the word and generating excitement. Next year, I'm hoping our medium pitch tournament exceeds 20 teams. I had 20 teams and 5 teams on the waiting list. And so we're hoping to expand on that next year. Maybe we have to set up a 7th field next year, which we can do. But keep spreading it and keep encouraging your guys to maybe even coming to the state tournament next year, whether it's the fast pitch or the medium pitch. And speaking of fast pitch, August 1st is our only fast pitch tournament of the year here in Cedar Park. If anybody's interested, the weekend of August 1st, that Saturday, we'll be doing a fast pitch tournament. And if anybody wants to come down, we're taking registrations as we speak. So we won't have 20 teams for that. Right now we have, I think, 5 or 6 that are signed up. So if you want to come over to Cedar Park and everything's safe, I encourage you guys to try to get a team and come down. So thank you guys. John, thank you. It was nice meeting you. Will, it's always great to see you. And hopefully I can see you in a couple of weeks. Maybe you'll come down for the fast pitch. Justin, I look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely a pleasure. Absolutely a pleasure, guys. Seriously, anytime you need anything, feel free to reach out to me. I know I've been learning from Tim for 10 years, so I'm still learning from him. So he's really wealth of knowledge, so reach out to him as well. But seriously, anything you guys ever need, feel free to shoot me a text or call or anything.
Thank you, guys. And everybody, you've been watching and listening to the Lone Star Wiffle podcast. And until next week, good night.